So hi there, welcome to the Future of Work Equaling a Higher Quality of Life. 10 predictions on how we work and how we work will change for us all, by me, Claire Donald. So yeah, I'm Claire, I'm the VP of Engineering here at Moo.com, and I'm passionate about all things people and process. I'm absolutely fascinated about the next iteration of how we work. You can find me on Twitter at Scottish Claire. So Work 2.0. Over the last 12 months, we have all had to make changes in how we live and work, and things are never ever going to be the same. And this talk's all about my predictions on the big trends that will impact how we work going forwards. So no talk is complete without a quote, and I thought I'd kick off with one from the New York Times. So yeah, the pandemic has catalysed a long predicted shift towards remote work. Many office workers don't want to return to the old ways of working, and that means big changes for people in all kinds of jobs too. Yeah, over the next decade, I predict that we'll see people and companies make the switch from fully in the office, hybrid working, to fully remote. And folks don't want to go back to how they were before. We've all seen the benefits of working in a more flexible way and doing things differently, and have had our eyes open to the possibilities. People will want to make choices based on their own needs and will demand that level of flexibility. Those companies that can offer that will attract the best talent. So what could that look like? Here are my 10 predictions. So first of all, I think we'll see two trends. I think we'll see companies either going fully remote or companies creating smaller club-like spaces. I predict the latter will be more popular in the next few years, especially as many companies have long-term leases they cannot break free from. And the whole workforce adapting to remote working isn't an easy task either. Striking the right balance between individual task time at home with more collaborative working in the office is a sensible first step in developing those muscles. So I envisage lots of smaller headquarters and club-like spaces. Some companies may even go all out and make these like resorts. So you'll have employees visiting 1 or 2 days a week to spend quality face time collaborating with their colleagues. These spaces will be outstanding and provide the very best employee experiences, encouraging people to come into the office and take advantage of those facilities and enabling more moments of planned serendipity. So what could this look like? So you imagine much smaller offices, think more like a Soho house rather than a Google campus. And they'll be composed very, very differently, no longer banks and banks of desks. Space will be split between more collaborative working spaces and meeting rooms with the highest spec technology and logistics of amazing in-person and hybrid working experiences. So think immersive telepresence devices or even VR to replicate those whiteboard and post-it note sessions. Working lounges and studios will replace rows and rows of desks. You're not going to be coming into the office to do your individual tasks. You'll be doing that elsewhere. So these places will be designed for short periods of time to touch down quickly before you're up and off again and speaking to someone else. And then lastly, the rest of the space will be dedicated to those sort of all-hands cinema type areas. And huge investment into those areas, making them amazing, including things like food and drink. These spaces should be big enough and flexible enough to offer yoga in the morning, to pizza movie nights after work. They'll become social hubs, not just for employees, but for visitors too. Very, very different type of working. Next is a move to asynchronous working. So if you're only in the office a couple of days a week, then what will change the rest of the time? So asynchronous working is going to be key, and it's one of the most underrated and important factors in team productivity in remote and hybrid teams. To date, most people have just tried to replicate the office environment while working from home, with large amounts of real-time communications via video calls. This is not only draining, but it's not required in reality. Putting more thought and effort into how teams communicate and work in an asynchronous manner will be a game changer. There'll be a variety of new tools emerging to support us in doing this well. Plus, the need for leaders and managers or coaches to learn new techniques to support their teams working this way will be vital. It's going to be a big change for lots of different people. So here's an example of a communications pyramid from Doist. All companies are going to have to do the same thing, and they're going to put some thought into thinking about which method is most important for which type of communication, and provide both guidance on the tooling and the best method to do so. Over time, as people become more accustomed to these methods, the volume of synchronous work is likely to decline as we gain more flexibility over our working lives. And I think that's when the rise of completely fully remote work will happen as well. So, tools that enable this asynchronous work are the most important thing for global remote and hybrid teams. I think we're going to see a lot of tech startups trying to tackle this problem, and I think we'll see a rise in the number of roles that can design, teach, and facilitate these types of workings. Leaders will have a big part to play in this as well. I think they're going to have to learn how to adapt their management and leadership styles, and those that don't are really, really going to struggle and find it hard. Third then is diagonal communities. So what's a diagonal community? Well, team cohesion and company culture isn't possible whilst working remotely or in a hybrid way, but it has to be different. The same way companies are realising the power of communities externally, internal communities are going to be even important in a company's success. So diagonal communities will emerge to provide both networking and alternative support mechanisms for employees, in addition to functional hierarchies. And these will all be working in tandem to nurture strong personal relationships at work. So what could that look like in practice? So even now, vertical integration across companies and global distribution means companies are not one single homogeneous group. Rather, they're multiple communities, and remote and hybrid working will make that even more important to develop further. So you might have one person that's part of their own function, getting career guidance and specialist support from their line manager. They're also likely to be part of a multifunctional team, working with lots of other disciplines towards common goal. House systems may emerge at companies, which an alternative mechanism with individuals growing connections, mentoring, coaching, outside of the people that they work with most. And then there's also the growing role of affinity groups, communities of practice and causes, where people are passionate about a range of things and get involved. From anything from LGBTQ+, BAME, parenting, sports, and cooking tips. All of these different choices means that a single employee will be part of these diagonal communities, and the more they interact with them, the more value they'll get, and the more engaged they will become at work. And I can see that this variety of choices rising in work as we go forwards. Next is narrative building. So when everyone isn't in the office the whole time, companies are searching for better ways to communicate more effectively. Great storytelling is going to become a vital skill in both the written and the verbal format. To share company vision and ensure everyone is working in the same direction, as well as keeping in the loop of what's going on. The most successful team members are going to be awesome writers and are able to concisely capture their logic in the written format so others can consume and contribute in an asynchronous manner when everyone's not working at the same time. Tools that enable others to write and record better are going to explode in popularity. However, text-based information can be a big cause of information overload and stress. So we must use a different mix of communications, channels and methods. To complement the written word, I predict a rise in async audio with things such as voice memos, screen recordings and internal podcasts going to be big hits in coming years. Applications such as Clubhouse are already on the rise, and I think we're going to see those becoming even more popular with companies as well. Next prediction is outcome over outputs, which is arguably already happening. All these different ways of working means that employees will have greater control over how they go about doing the work. The best workers will be the ones that consistently do what they promise, regardless of when or how they go about doing it. And there's going to be no need for us to be coming into the office and padding out an 8 hours day. This will be replaced with clear tasks and employees knowing what their responsibilities are and be given the trust to execute on that in whichever way they seem fit. I can see processes such as objectives and key results, as well as continuous feedback and recognition, rising in popularity with workers as they focus on outcomes. Just to put that into perspective, the average Briton spends 3,507 days at work, which means 84,171 hours in their lifetime in work. Plus, the average person spends an additional 204 days on overtime at work. And we all need a better way to manage that. And we're all going to have much more freedom to choose how we conduct our work, and we'll not be holding to come into the office 9 to 5 to do it. And the flexibility will become the norm. Which takes me on to health and well-being. So it's not all about the work. With less commuting time and more flexibility in how we work, it means there's going to be much more time for health and well-being. Individuals will be spending more time going for a midday run, balancing wraparound childcare, and integrating their works and lives together, rather than balancing it around 9 to 5. Companies will start to adapt their benefits packages to provide perks that will suit this lifestyle change. You're delivering things many people have got in the office to their homes, as an example. I also envisage mandatory whole company breaks and days off to ensure folks are striking that right balance and mitigate for people struggling with boundaries and reduce the risk of burnout. So here are a couple of examples of what this could look like. I expect to see an increase in flexible mix and match benefits packages. This will include other options in addition to the standard sort of healthcare and life insurance things that are already in place right now. This could include subscriptions to things such as Headspace or Grays or Disney Plus. And who knows, we might see cycle to work schemes being replaced with cycle at home schemes such as Peloton. With more time spent at home, your home must become a sanctuary to help you to be productive. I envisage companies offering stipends to employees to create great offices at home. They might even provide kits themselves. I envisage a lot more companies putting more effort into providing remote support to get your home office set up properly. I also expect there to be a rise in IT companies offering this type of service for larger companies as well. So what does that mean for diversity and inclusion then? I think the rise of remote and hybrid teams will make work even more inclusive and available to a much bigger group of people. I envisage the most diverse and inclusive teams in history emerging rapidly in the coming months. Companies that embrace all of these ways of working I've just described have first mover advantage to attract great talent. The companies that don't will lose it. Just to give one example of how this inclusivity could work, I think it will provide more flexibility for people at different stages in their life. For example, a parent who's taken a career break whilst they brought up their child, more flexible remote and hybrid working will help them get back into the workplace. It's also just as useful for new parents who are struggling with juggling childcare in school. Then there's onto the community. So if more people spending time in the local area, they're going to fall in love with the community again. I can see a rise in people taking up hobbies and doing activities or volunteering in their local area. This will start to create deeper, more meaningful reactions and relations to help combat loneliness and isolation that might be felt if you're spending too much time working at home by yourself. We just need all the lockdowns lifted to make it happen. An example of where I could see this happening, something like gardening. I am not green-fingered at all, but I already see it in my local community with our local allotment space getting more and more popular. And you can see people already started to chat in a socially distant way. I can see this becoming a booming social hub in my community, and I expect to see similar things in other communities all over the place. Which sort of leads to small city and remote living. Not everybody currently lives in a suburb or somewhere with some green space. I expect to see more and more people moving out of big cities and heading out towards suburbs in small cities or villages, seeking a lower cost of living and a higher quality of life. I think there's the possibility of seeing more garden cities being created as well. Areas that will innovate quickly to provide all of the best infrastructure for people working and living in this way. Everything from fast internet to more flexible and better schools. Taking that a stage further, you've got people that are more able to live in a more fluid way. We could potentially see the rise of business parks filled with RVs springing up to support a mobile workforce. And we could see from anywhere in a van becoming a big thing. You know, I think as self-driving technology emerges, that this could become popular more rapidly than we envisage. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Tesla offering a product in this space before too long. But you know, this more fluid workforce will want to explore outside their own area as well. You know, I expect to see companies offering remote working visas, either full or part-time, to attract workers to boost their own local economy. You know, this is already happening. You know, I've done a quick bit of research. I found 16 countries doing this already. You know, anywhere from countries in the Caribbean to Croatia. You know, I think companies that enable this level of flexibility and have policies in place to support their employees in doing this type of thing will become a huge perk and a massive benefit for digital nomads that have less ties to a single area. You know, I also think this is a huge opportunity for the future of work to synchronise on education, you know, and enable this opportunity for families to be more fluid in their location as well. So yeah, what could that look like in practice? You know, as companies creating work from almost anywhere policies. You know, if you can identify time periods where people are checking in to collaborate, then it almost doesn't matter where you work. You know, there's also the option of, rather than the full workforce being completely remote and working from anywhere, companies may offer a whole path as a benefit. So, you know, employees can be more flexible for a shorter period of time rather than 100% of the time. You know, for example, going somewhere warm for a few months over the winter. Right, so just to summarise, those are my 10 predictions for the future of work to help enable a better quality of life. So springing up of more smaller company clubhouses, a switch to more asynchronous working. And then when people are in the office and working asynchronously, they're going to lean on digital communities outside their day-to-day work more often. Companies themselves will have to be better in their storytelling and building the narratives to communicate better with their teams whilst they're dispersed. Everybody will be moving towards outcomes over outputs. You know, when and how we go about doing our work will be less important than the consistency of achieving what we said we would do. All employees will be putting more intensity in their health and well-being and looking after themselves, and company will change their benefits packages in order to suit. You know, this more distributed way of working opens up different doors to a more diverse community. We're going to see some of the best teams being created over the next few months. These people are all going to start falling in love with their local community and doing activities in their local areas as well, combating some of the loneliness and isolation that may be felt when working from home more often. We're likely to also see a shift of people moving from big cities to smaller ones, and potentially the rise of remote living parks and more fluid workforce living in mobile homes, taking advantage of different places to work. And lastly, by no means least, the option of us all being a digital workforce and being able to work all over the world at different places and different times of the day, and get our work done in a collaborative manner. So yeah, key takeaways from me then: remote working and hybrid working is here to stay. Things won't go back to how they were. You know, employees will demand more flexibility, and companies that offer it will be able to attract and retain the best talent on the planet. But things will change, and we'll all need to adapt as things continue to evolve around us. So I just want to give some credit to some of the people that helped inspire this presentation. Firstly, Richard Moross, the CEO at Mood.com, who's laying out inspiring vision for all of us, some of which I've reused in this presentation. Chris Hurd, who's the CEO at First Base, who's done some great research and has been freely sharing his insights on Twitter. And Linda Grattan at London Business School. You know, her webinar with MIT really got me thinking about time and place differently. Right, and that's me. So thank you very much. If you've got any questions, you can find me at Scottish Claire or on Twitter, or my email address is claird@mood.com. Thanks again, and speak to you all soon.